Hello and welcome to the Elevate podcast. I'm your host, Patricia Nowakowski. I'm a salon owner, educator, mindset, and leadership coach that helps salon owners go from overwhelmed and burnt out to motivated and empowered. It is my mission to help you systemize your business, generate more profit, and create a career that you love. Join us every week to learn about the small shifts you can make to elevate your business regarding mindset, marketing, social media, business systems, and so much more. If you've been feeling overwhelmed and overworked from owning your salon, you're not alone. If you're like many salon owners, you want to build a salon that makes you feel fulfilled and passionate while bringing freedom and flexibility to your life. You're exhausted from taking on all your business tasks alone, but it doesn't have to be this way. It's time for change. The Elevated Salon Owner Collective will help you do just that. You'll automate your salon, implement solid business systems, transform your salon culture, take charge of your online presence, and regain freedom. Doors officially open, and I'd love for you to experience freedom and fulfillment in your business. To learn more, visit opulentbeautypro.com/elevate or click the link in the show notes. On today's episode, we have a very special guest. We have Brooke Bauer, who is a salon owner, and she actually owns two amazing salons, Brooke Bauer Boutique and Triple B Salon. Brooke is very special to me because Brooke actually worked for me when she started her career. So I always love chatting with her because she's just such a successful, powerful force in our industry. And today we're going to talk about coaching, how to find the right coach, how it has really influenced her growth and her business, and how she finds the right people to work with, and how she really implements coaching inside of her business to create success for herself. Brooke, do you want to take a moment to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Patricia. This is such an awesome experience. I really appreciate you inviting me on. And just like you said, I think it's great because you were actually one of my very first coaches. I started out in the industry at Patricia's Commission Salon, and she guided me in those very first few months, almost a year in the industry. And then I moved on to a salon suites, outgrew that pretty quickly, and then opened up my first storefront location. And about 3 years later, I opened my second storefront location, and we are constantly evolving, growing our team, and offering new services on our menu to bring really great things to consumers and what they need.
So the reason why I wanted to chat with you is we have a lot of similar experiences when it comes to coaching. You and I worked with the same coaching company for several years. And I also love to chat with you because you really are such a powerful force and you just radiate success. And it's not by accident. You are a very hard worker. You're very, very intelligent and smart, and you're very business savvy, and you really know what you're doing. And that is just shown with everything that you've created. You've got two beautiful locations. You've got an amazing team in both of your locations. And for me, I think the reason why I wanted to do this podcast is I really feel that investing in yourself is one of those things that is a non-negotiable for growth and a non-negotiable when it comes to really catapulting yourself into this business that you want to create, because we hit these brick walls where sometimes for me anyway, when I was looking for a coach, I just felt stuck. And I feel like coaching and education is one of those things that really has guided me to really move past those roadblocks. So I want you to share how you feel about education and coaching and how you feel like it's really transformed everything that you do in your business.
I think that education is the most important thing for this industry. As a new stylist, especially, I know that when I first started in the industry, there was so much I had to learn, and I absorbed all of the education I could, took as many classes, watched as many videos. And what that does is it really helps you build your confidence. And that's what you need in this industry is you need to be confident so that way your customers can trust you. And if you're a salon owner, you need to be confident so your employees can trust you, or potential employees. And as far as hiring a coach goes, I wish I did it right when I opened my business. I waited maybe like 6 months to a year before I got a coach. That was one of the best things that I could have done. And what I learned throughout the process of having multiple coaches throughout the years is that it's really a non-negotiable, especially if you are a sole business owner or if you're in a salon suite and you don't have a business partner to work with or a salon owner to ask for advice. You definitely need to have someone there for you in case you need advice or guidance in a certain subject of business.
Yeah, I think you really hit the nail on the head when you said that confidence is everything when it comes to building your business behind the chair and when it comes to actually building your team and being a leader. I think confidence is one of those things that a lot of salon owners lack, and they have a tendency to kind of fall back on their team for, guidance or asking them questions, when in reality, that's what the coach is for. The coach is to bounce ideas off of and to really help you solidify your systems, processes, and the way that you do things in your business. What are some things or questions, I should say, that you feel are so important when looking for the right coach and finding the right coach for you? How did you go about that process?
So back when I originally found my first coach, it was a very short process. I thought it was a cool idea to get a business coach. I got one, I ran with it, and I wish that I had more experience on having a coach and I knew what to look for. So it's very similar to a new stylist looking for a salon to work at. You don't just want to interview at one salon, get hired, and choose that one. I always recommend that new hairstylist interview at as many salons as they can, so that way they can learn which one would be the right fit for them. And I think that finding a coach in that way is the best way to do it. And as far as the questions you should ask go, I think that you should ask what they specialize in, what their history is in the industry, because sometimes people don't have the type of coaching that you need. And I thought a business coach is just a business coach. But relating it back to the industry, that would be like saying every hairstylist is the same. So each hairstylist has certain things they're good at and certain things that they're not. And finding a coach for your specific needs and asking the right questions to make sure that they're going to be focusing on what your business needs, not just an overall what they're teaching to every other salon or every other business out there.
I think you and I kind of were both in a place where we worked with the same coach for a very long time. We both kind of idolized the coach that we worked with, which I feel like wasn't necessarily like the best move for our business. So because I feel like we both kind of idolized the person that we were working with, we had a tendency to kind of ignore like some red flags, possibly, or beige flags, as you called them. So what do you think some beige or red flags are to know that it's time to move on to somebody else who is better suited for your business? Because I feel like you said, like each coach is going to bring something to the table that is going to be right for you and right for your business. And coaching and business strategies, techniques are not cookie cutter, and not every single method is going to be applicable to everyone's business. And some people find success with certain things and some people don't. So what would you say were some highlights that were like, okay, it's time for me to move on and find a different coach for a different need for my business?
Yeah, I mean, I was with my first coach for 4.5 years. So that was a very long time. I think that if anyone is with a coach for that long, you should definitely switch it up. And that's nothing against that coach. It's just because having a new set of eyes on your business is never a bad thing. So I think that I hired a coach. I was having an awesome experience and I truly loved my coach. And I think that I probably stayed about 2 years too long. And that is because after you learn what that coach has to offer, you really outgrow anything else that they can teach you. And this is just my opinion. So I think it came time. I should have left a lot earlier, which I did not realize. And that's because, like you said, it's the beige flags. I loved this person. They had given me some really awesome advice that made my business thrive. But at the time, fast forward years later, it wasn't serving me in the same way. So I think that I started to realize that when certain things that I was asking advice about, I wasn't seeing results. So I was doing the same thing over and over again and not seeing anything different. And that is really the definition of insanity. So, and I was doing that because I idolized the coach. I trusted the coach and I thought, okay, this is going to work. You just have to keep doing it. So that was not true. Once I exited the coaching company that I was with at the time and looked from the outside in, I was like, wow, I really went on and did that coaching for way too long. And then there was just a few things, that big advice given that kind of seemed out of left fields. That was a turnoff to me as well. So then going forward with different coaching companies, I saw another coach who was really good in the aspect that was missing from the last coaching company, but not so great in the area of where I got gains from the other coach. So everyone has their different thing and everyone has their place. And I think being educated on coaching is knowing when you can utilize a specific coach for certain things and how certain coaches aren't going to be the right coaches for certain things that you need help with.
So when you decided to kind of switch coaches, like what were the steps that you took really to find somebody, well, one, personal steps for yourself, right? Like you knew that your business was lacking in certain areas and that you needed guidance with certain things, right? So what were like the internal steps you took in order to figure out what the next step was to find the right coach? And then how did you go about actually finding the companies that you worked with? Because you've worked with some really great people so far.
Interesting story is actually my second coach I had stumbled upon during a clubhouse, and I started chatting with her, and she did coaching and she was talking to me about her coaching company. And I said, oh, well, I have my coach. And when she had heard how long I had been with the coach, she was like, wow, that's a long time. And how have you grown in the past year with this person? And it was until someone had asked me that, I was like, well, I've really gotten nowhere. I'm doing the same thing over and over again. So it was almost like she pulled me out and she had this like wider vision on it. And then when I switched over to work with that coach, she helped me with all of those things I was struggling with almost immediately. And that was really eye-opening to realize that, okay, certain coaches are right for the certain things. So then moving forward, when I've hired coaches now, it's always, again, looking at their experience, asking them what they're best at and what they are going to focus on with you, and almost asking like their success rate with other companies. Like, what have you done for other companies, if anything? And that would be my advice on it.
I think a great question to ask too, and I think this is something that each person should deep dive into, is how do you measure your growth?
Yeah, absolutely. How the coach measures the growth within the companies they support. Is that what you mean by that?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think so too. Yeah, some coaches, they work on the financial part, some don't. And it's a hard thing to measure, right? Like what you get out of coaching. Like I'm not totally sure how to measure that either. Unless we're talking about financials, how do I measure that? And I know many people listening are probably like, well, isn't business all about financials? Isn't it all about the sales growth? And to some people it is. For me as a business owner, it's more about the way I want my business to be. I know to some business people that sounds silly, but if I can go to sleep at night and know that like my employees are taken care of, my consumers are taken care of, that's mutually as important as having like the financial stability there too.
Yeah. And I think that's something else that creates success for you is, it's not just about the revenue that you're generating for your business, which I think a lot of salons get caught up in that, or just even coaching companies get caught up in that. They have like a quick taste of success because they generate a lot of revenue really fast. And it's something that they're always chasing. And then that becomes their focus, which is what I feel happened with the coaching company that I was working with. I felt like it was really fast success and they got a taste of a lot of revenue. And that's when things really started to shift and change. And I think that happens for salon owners too. So I think going back, having like a clear mission, vision, and really having great values, like you and I talked about before I didn't record.
was literally just thinking in my head right now. I was like, okay, so I think I mentioned values. And then I was
You
like,
did. Yeah.
during this recording or the one we thought we recorded?
Yeah. The one we thought we
So,
recorded.
yeah. So values, that's huge. I mean, I introduced you to Rob Hines. He was here teaching a class earlier today. And one of his first slides was just a slide on what his values are. And I think that's a great question to ask a coach is like, what are your values? Because if your values don't align, they're definitely not the right coach for you. And going back to like the beige flag thing, I think this is more of a red flag actually towards the end. I started really picking up on that. So it started not feeling right in my heart anymore. Some of the advice I was getting, which I'm not even sure if I should give this example because I feel like it might, if one of my employees listen to this, it could like hurt them.
Yeah.
But like, I got just like recommended to fire some of my top people just because they had like bad months or bad weeks. And I am very understanding of that, like history of, traumatic things, mental health, all of that. And I like to be human and I like to understand that. And when someone doesn't align with that and they're just like, no, if they're not, hitting this and doing that, then they shouldn't, be at your company. And again, that might be something that other business people would agree with. But me and myself, I'm more about feeling good, being able to go to sleep at night. And those people that I was recommended to terminate from my company are still with me today. And let me just tell you, they are thriving and I don't know what I would be doing without them. So
Same. I got the same advice. I was told to fire my manager, and Becky, if you're listening, I'm so sorry, but I didn't fire her.
It's horrible to say
Right.
such, like, no one wants to hear that someone said that about them.
Right.
But just knowing we didn't agree with that. Right. So
yeah. I literally could not do life without her. Like, she literally loves my business as much as I do. And I think that quality in itself is something that is so hard to find. And just because someone isn't producing revenue or like hitting numbers or doing certain things that really are, I don't want to say superficial because those things are important too, but there's so many qualities that are really involved when it comes to finding the right people for our business. And I think that someone loving your business as much as you do is one of those qualities that are far and few between. So, and I think it's for your top people too. You've had some of the same team members for a very, very long time who are all very passionate about your company. I think going back to what you said, like they're human. And I think empathy is so important as a leader, and like understanding all of these qualities that go into great leadership is another thing that coaching has helped me with. I think that's one of the areas that I really grew was with the leadership aspect, mindset, consciousness, all of those things.
Yeah, I think it's so important to be aware of that.
What are some major key components, would you say, that like you've experienced through the coaching process that have really catapulted your growth?
I think learning how to have proactive conversations and knowing that I don't need my team to like me, which is so embarrassing to admit. Like everyone's like, no, I don't want my team to like me. Yes, we all want our team to like us. That's so important. But the thing is, if you're going to do it in the wrong way, if that's your goal. And if you really want to help people be successful and financially stable and all of the things, you're going to have really hard conversations with them. And learning that and putting it into practice and seeing the results has been the best thing that I have learned throughout coaching. And then other than that, so that was probably the first thing that I learned that was great. It's that certain things don't work and there's nothing wrong with systems. I think that everyone's thinks with the generations that we have, they don't want to work, or they don't want systems. They don't want control. They want to be free because rental salons are the up and up and all of this. It's not true. So any salon owner listening, it's such a lie. It's so silly. If someone's going to do rental, it's because they want to do rental. It's not because you didn't give enough freedom. If someone wants to work at a commission salon, they want to be told what to do. They want help growing. They want to have a career path. And it's so interesting too, because we were just speaking about like cookie cutter. We were doing this like mentorship program for new stylists. And that wasn't even working out because I did the same thing. I'm trying to put everyone in this cookie cutter program where it's like, you do this day, you do this day. And now we introduce more of like a tailored training where each new hire is going to be trained uniquely to them. And that has been so much more successful already. So just knowing that everyone is unique, every new person that you bring onto your team is going to need a different approach. And I think that's where the coach comes in, because hopefully they've been in your position way longer than you have, and they have way more experience. So they know how to approach certain types of people.
I think that was a hard lesson that I learned was, I was told that people don't want structure. They want freedom. They don't want, not that they don't want a boss, but like that those things don't work. And I'm glad that I tried different things and played around, but I realized the same thing, that people need training, people need systems and structure, and people want to be told what to do as long as it creates results for them in a way that is going to create growth and success.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. Prior to offering flexibility and freedom, I had brought some really awesome people onto my team that are still on my team today. Then throughout my time of offering freedom, flexibility, and minimal training, I retained one team member throughout a 3-year time span. And then when I exited that and went back to how I was doing things before, I have retained many more team members. I'm trying to count how many, probably about 4 or 5 team members since then. So it's just interesting how what I was doing originally was working, and I switched it because it was almost like I switched it out of fear, because it was like, all these people are going to leave for rental if you continue to do it this way. And there was all this scare about commission salons are dying. And yeah, it's interesting.
It is interesting. Retaining your team is something that is a lot of what salon owners struggle with. And I think, again, like having the reins on your business is important. I think having the reins on your business is important too, because it's what's going to create intentional success. I feel like when we give the freedoms and we, give all the flexibility, you're just kind of letting things happen by chance or by accident. But when you're intentional with what you're doing in your business, it creates intentional success. And I think that's one thing that I definitely learned for sure. Was that, those things are not something that are bad. Systems are not bad. Structure is not bad. Having rules and regulations, it's needed. And I think a big lesson that I learned is that stylists with standards are only going to work for businesses with standards. So having all of the flexibility and the free for all is not something that is, it didn't create success for me either.
Yeah, I agree. And I think if something doesn't feel right in your heart, then it probably isn't right. So, there were certain things throughout coaching that I did that didn't feel right, but I trusted the coach and I went with it, and I wish I wouldn't have. And I guess once I started working with a coach, because I had been doing so many things wrong, that I thought that everything that I was doing was wrong, which was not true. I just needed help refining some of the things. I didn't need to switch everything. So that just goes back to listening to your heart and ensuring that you're always standing by your values. And if you're a business owner and you don't know what your values are, I recommend sitting down and figuring that out, especially if you've been with a coaching company for a long time. I think that sometimes you can lose sight of your values. So sit down, think about what your values are, and then have another chat with the coach that you're working with and reassess, see if they align with your values. And if they don't, make a switch. And if you feel like you've gotten everything out of the coach that you needed and you need help with something different, make a switch. The second coach that I worked with was really into financial success, systems, all of those things. And that was completely different than the coaching that I had originally. So 2 different coaches, 2 different recommendations, and different ways that I can improve my business.
The one thing that I remembered now was, I think, too, another thing that's important, and this doesn't go for every single coach, but I think finding a coach that is actually experienced and who has created success for themselves in something that you are also wanting to create success in is also something that's really important. I feel like the coaching company that we both worked with, the owners never owned a salon. and they never thoroughly tested themselves the methods and the systems that they were pushing people to put in place. And for me as a salon owner, as I was like implementing all of these things in my business, I saw the things that were successful and the things that were not successful. And I think that when you experience them firsthand and you test them firsthand and you collect real data firsthand, it definitely changes the way that you coach people and the things that you tell people to do. So I think that's also something to be very conscious of.
Absolutely. I mean, when I stopped my coaching looking from the outside in, I was like, damn, I was a straight up guinea pig.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was one of the first people to implement some of like the ideas and things that were offered. And that's just because I was young, I was risky, and I was just like, yeah, I'll try whatever, professional thinks is going to work, I'll do. And luckily they were very successful for me. Looking back, I do realize that I was a guinea pig, and I know that other people that tried the things that I tried, it did not work out for them, and that's rough. And my coach, one of my other coaches that I worked with, Donna Roggio, I'm going to give her a shout out. She is absolutely wonderful. She had a successful salon for, I think, 12 years. I don't want to quote her wrong. I'm almost positive it was 12 years. She had multiple locations. She grew over the years, and then she ended up selling her salon, which I won't say for how much, but I remember I actually asked her when I first started working with her, because she was, told me she sold her salon. And I said, how much did you sell your salon for? And she was like, out of all of my years of coaching, no one has ever asked me that. And I was like, really? No one's ever wanted to know? And I wanted to know because I think in this industry so much, everyone says salons aren't sellable and this and that, and how they're not a good business to have. And there's all this negativity around it. And she is someone, Donna Roggio, she's awesome. She now lives in Ibiza and has so much money saved that she flies her daughter from the US to Ibiza once a month. Like, it's just wonderful how much financial stability she has for herself, and how she has sold a salon and ran a salon for so long. And I think after that, I knew that you need to look for someone who has done it, like you said, for sure. Mm-hmm. And the differences in someone who's done it and someone who has not are massive.
Yeah. It's massive. It's a huge difference. That's amazing. I'm going to have to look her up, work with her.
She's super cute. She has really good hair.
Oh, well, that's important too. Got to have good hair, good business sense.
Having fun too. Like, my coaching calls with her were always a really good time. She has a great personality. I think that's a huge part of it. And just knowing if you like have a natural conversation with someone, or if you feel intimidated, I think that's a huge red flag. If a coach intimidates you, or if you ever feel bullied, run. If you feel bullied into doing something, run. That's not normal. No matter how poorly you are running your business, they are there to help you, not to make you feel bad about it. So if you ever experience that, do not deal with it. Do not let that make you feel bad about yourself. Their job is to help you. And if you're feeling any sort of way, I would definitely not continue.
Yeah, I think that's important too, is, obviously you're paying that person to keep your best interest at heart. And if your intuition is saying something that is against what they're advising, like, you should always go with your intuition.
Absolutely. I agree.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much for being here today and recording this twice. Halfway twice. Tell people where they can find you, and if they want to connect with you, how to go about doing that.
Absolutely. So we have 2 locations, one in Tinley Park, Brooke Bauer Boutique, Salon and Extension Loft. And the other one is in Des Plaines, Triple B Salon. They're both in Illinois, Chicagoland area, North Side, South Side. You can find us on Instagram. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Facebook, Brooke Bauer, all the places. There's so many social media platforms now. It's wild. It's overwhelming. So look up Brooke Bauer. You'll find me.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, thank you so much. And I'll be talking to you soon.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.